Hello and welcome to the second installment of this accordion repair series. If you missed the first video, don't worry, here's a brief recap. Here's a slightly less brief recap. We took the accordion apart, sorted and triaged loose parts, rebuilt a wooden reed block for bass notes, glued leather valves onto reeds, then sorted the reeds by note, put loose reeds back into their proper homes, and poured molten wax to seal them in place. Not into all that stuff? Don't worry about it, because this video will blow your mind. I'm talking keyboard bed restoration, bass case amelioration, bellows rectification, chord shaft immobilization, and much, much more. Strap into your accordion because this is a wild ride. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to perform extensive repairs on the three sections of the accordion body: the bass, or the bottom end of the accordion, the keyboard, or the top end of the accordion, and the bellows, the middle part of the accordion. On this particular accordion, each of those sections has at least one problem that, on its own, makes the entire instrument unplayable. We start with the bass side, and it needs some work because nearly every single button is stuck in the depressed position. These buttons are connected to valves that, when pressed, allow air to flow past various combinations of musical reeds that live in the middle of the accordion. If every button is pressed at once, the accordion will try to play every note at once. That's a problem for two reasons. One, my taste in music isn't this. And two, the bellows of this accordion is so leaky that it can't provide the necessary airflow to that many notes at the same time. So we need to get those buttons unstuck. Additionally, some of the valve cover pads that are supposed to seal off the bass side have fallen off. That means air can get through constantly, and notes would be playing even when you're not pressing a button. To make matters worse, there's no way to access those loose pads without fully disassembling the entire accordion. The me in the video might not know that yet though. So throughout these clips, I'm trying to figure out why it is these buttons are getting stuck so easily, and I'm kind of evaluating how to take it apart because I haven't done this before. Also, as a side note, I don't think I'm going to do the disembodied mouth on the accordion anymore because I think it's a little disturbing. So there's no immediately apparent explanation for why the buttons are getting stuck, so that means it's time to take it apart. I think what happens next is we go like this, and oh gosh, take out every one of these. Is that crazy? Oh yeah. That can't be a good idea, can it? Let's try it anyway. How do you keep track of these, though? That's a great question. It's really important that I keep these buttons in order so that I can put each one back in the exact same spot it came from. Each rod is bent into a unique shape to nestle perfectly together inside the cramped space of the accordion. But more importantly, each rod has a different combination of pins that correspond to specific notes to play. If they fall out of order, I would have a real problem on my hands trying to resort them. Luckily, that's a problem I haven't yet had to face. As long as I keep these 120 fiddly little pieces of metal and plastic in order, it's a problem I shouldn't ever have to face. So let's hope I find a nice, reliable way to keep track of them all. So that's the first row of all the buttons taken out, and you can see me struggling with there's a little piece of plastic right there, like a piece of plastic piping that's meant to retain the next row of pieces. So let's stop for a second. Okay, so I took out 3 sets of all these pins, have them arranged in order just like that, to keep track of how they go back in. Next up, I think there's more taking things apart and keeping track of what order they were in when you took them apart. Which is, I think you unscrew these things and then take out all of these guys. This is my first time taking one of these apart. This end of it anyway. And so there's, like, I guess a little double kind of spring action you can kind of see. That spring right there. And I think it has a counterpart spring on the other side. You can sort of see in there, there's sort of a wooden cheese board looking thing that is kind of falling apart. And so that probably was not helping the keys push up and down. It's a little gross. I guess we gotta keep pushing on though and taking stuff apart. But man, I need more space than I've got, so. So there are 2 sets of 12 of these metal rods for a total of 24, and there are 24 holes concealed beneath them. Coincidence? No. Each of these rods corresponds to one note. The bendy appendages sticking off of the parallel rods are how chords access the notes they need. So, if you push a button up top, let's say for example the C major chord button, it's got to open up airflow to the C note, the E, and the G. So that button rod will have 3 pegs on it that actuate 3 separate parallel rods for C, E, and G. If you look at the bass chart, you can see all of the chords are listed as 3-note groupings. Interestingly, on the dominant 7th chord, the chart only lists 3 notes, but when you press the button, 4 notes are actuated, and it includes like the 5th of the chord. So for the C dominant 7th, it also includes the note G. So if there's a rod that has 4 pegs, it'll be a dominant 7th, I think. Who knows what a dominant is anyway? You might have noticed that each of the parallel rods has a few of these appendagey thingies. That's because individual notes are shared between many different chords, so several buttons all across the button bank need to actuate the same horizontal rod. The C note is used in the C major chord, but it's also used in the A flat major chord, the A minor chord, the F major chord, the F minor chord, B sharp chords, and many more. There's a whole web of these shared notes, and this mess of metal pieces in the bottom of the accordion is the machine that translates the press of a button into cohesive musical phrases. So if I mix these rods up, the buttons won't play the right notes, and if they're in the wrong location, there's a chance they'd get bent and damaged when I press them. If I did mix them up, I could probably figure out how to sort them eventually, but it's a lot easier for me to just keep them in order. This video is long enough as it is.
There's the last one. So now we can see all this mess. I had to take all those out just to get to these pads here that came unglued. Awful lot of trouble. I guess this pops right out. You can see some corrosion. So these are pretty loose.
I removed all these pads at the expense of my delicately manicured cuticles, and I also finally took out this loose piece of Swiss cheese wood.
Just kind of glue whatever is loose on this sheet down. I'm gonna leave this, cheese boardy piece that I pulled out. I don't think it's functionally gonna make that much different. It's just gonna make it easier for the buttons to get pushed down too far. There's less of a path for them to travel, so when you push them down, they'll get, they could potentially get stuck in this area more. I don't know. I might just throw this piece out. We'll have to see. Okay, I've got these labeled because I'm going to bed. So I hope that these inscrutable messages are enough for me to figure this out in the morning.
It can be difficult to make vacuuming content like this interesting. You can't really see how much dust is being sucked up, but trust me, it's a lot, and it's actually quite impressive. Vacuum.
I think I should probably just take as much of this apart as I can. I don't know if this is attached. It really wants to go that way. I'm kind of the opinion, yeah, it's just gotta come out. So I guess those screws sort of work keeping it in place. I'm thinking that we want to get this piece out as well, just to really clean it. Well, this side came out too. There we see this piece in all of its glory. And now that gives me access to this side. I'll unscrew that and get rid of this. Okay. Well, it's sort of falling apart there. Boom, beautiful. What a disgusting piece of fabric and metal. The feel of it, the dustiness, everything about it's just Really, really unpleasant kind of velveteen feeling. And just the look of it. So crunchy, crusty. I'll put that somewhere where it'll go away for a while. Along with that piece. What did I just suck up there? So I sucked up a little piece of wood, little triangle thing. I'm not sure exactly where it goes yet. You know, it's a casualty of war, I think. So long, little piece of wood, I don't think that the accordion needs you anymore. But look how clean this is. It's got like some kind of gunk on this side, maybe glue or just corrosion from being in contact with it, whatever that metal is, like galvanized or some kind of aluminum. The other side is nice, still retains its felty softness. So for some reason this side,
Meaning this row of flaps instead of this row of flaps.
lost all of its pads. So I'm gonna clean them all up here, and then we'll glue them back on. I have to figure out which of these go onto which key, figure out, maybe I'll number them.
I don't end up doing that. I don't think it matters.
There's 12 of them, and luckily we have all 12. Looks like felt on this side, some kind of felt, and then a little strip of leather adhered there. Just a little dusty, so. A couple of these, so these are little pads there. But this one you can see is a little bit backy, forthy. This one, that one a little bit there. You know, I might just put them in place like this and then glue them where they're all, you know, mostly lined up. Okay, I'm gonna use some of whatever I've got right now. It's this, some kind of crystal clear Gorilla contact adhesive. So I'm gonna get these lined up again, get some harmful fumes in my, you know what? I'll use this stuff outside maybe, and I'll take you guys with me. How about?
If you're going to keep watching, please put on a respirator and make sure you turn on your fume hood.
This might be an issue. If we get that, maybe like something like that look good. And you know what? I'm confident that's going to be enough to hold it in place. So we'll try that for all of them before it like sets. So. I guess. Oops, that's not great. Even gluing there. Action. So next up, I think while I'm here, I'm gonna try gluing this kind of in place there. Just throw a little dab on there.
If I was going to do this again, I would not use glue for this purpose. I would absolutely be melting hot wax into place, and later on in the video, you get to see me do just that. This is not how you're supposed to do it.
It's all glued up, and they all, you know, at least do that. I don't think they have to look perfect, but as long as I didn't glue any of the felts down to the wood, and as long as they seal, it should be good. Okay, so I'm going through these base pads again, and I think I have to, you know, really double check if any of these are loose before I rebuild it, because it's a pain to get back into it. This one, like, had been eaten away. This obviously went underneath this one. Like a bug ate maybe through the leather, through the felt, and then also it even ate through the wood right there. I'm doing a bocce sort of glue / piece of wood, and then I'll sand it flat or something. But just like weird that a bug got in there and, you know, ate this. I assume a bug, right? What else would do that?
What else would do that? Maybe a bug, or maybe a very tiny alligator.
So I cut a new replacement piece. That's the white one right there.
This is how I should have done this the first time. Instead of using glue, just use hot wax. I think it'll provide a lot more stability to the whole joint, and I'm pretty sure it's the original material used for this purpose.
Fantastic. Okay. That's all of them, I think, unless I skipped any, but we'll find out. There's one last thing I want to do. I want to fix up this guy here. I put a little, I glued a little piece of wood in there, and I'm gonna use some sandpaper, or perhaps a file, to sort of get that down. Sort of shave it down a little bit. Or if that's a bad idea. You can kind of hear it tearing, so I'm gonna see if we can get in. Well, I'm happy with that, I think. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So those are all waxed in place. Next is looking at this guy. You remember him? So we cleaned it up, we re-glued these things. Right now, there's some bad looking stuff in here. Also, there was a lot of friction on these buttons. So I'm going to file down some of these holes a little bit. We're going to, file those so that it's easier for the buttons to move in and out. There's also actually some weird delamination here. So I think that these two pieces are supposed to be like flush with each other, but they are no longer. I think it looks just like a piece of, I was gonna say particle board or something, but maybe they didn't even have particle board when this was made, which would be interesting. Looks like there was a nail, there are nails going through underneath here, holding the metal piece in between these two things. It got, obviously a little zincified corrosion. I'm going to try to, I don't even know, man, try and push things back together. Using the wrong tools for the job here. All right, let's see if we can bend this piece of wood back in so that it's sitting flush. And maybe do more of that, something like that. You hear that cracking noise? That means that it's working. Here's what I'm thinking happened here. It's stuck like this basically. That piece of wood is not gonna wanna come off. Wow, look at that. Who knew you could just break off pieces like that? I know that probably looked bad, and that's ideally not the way that you would go about this, but I'm kind of feeling that was the best thing to do. And now we can look at how bent this piece of wood is. What does this do in there? Like provide some stability to that so that flops a little less. I want to bend this piece up there, but the problem is this little nail, it's not gonna go back into the wood. If we can get that out, that'd be nice.
I spent a bunch of time futzing with this piece of metal and trying to get this nail to come out when I should have just left it alone.
Look at that, look how straight that is. What does this piece of wood even do, huh? All right, next big step is to get the base back together.
That means I gotta make sure the buttons don't get stuck. So I have to use this file
to file away these base button holes. Just so that when the buttons go through, they don't get stuck. I'll do that now.
If you ever have an open afternoon and you're looking for something fun to do, I can recommend a number of things that are probably more fun than filing accordion buttonholes. Having an ice cream sundae, watching reruns of Murder, She Wrote, calling your loved ones, learning to love again. Something else, or any other activity that's not at risk of making your hand cramp up and that ultimately isn't that effective. That's right, you can spend 45 minutes filing accordion buttonholes and there's still no guarantee that it'll solve your problems. On the bright side, after all that exercise, your hand may be strong enough to open a tightly sealed jar of mayonnaise. Normally I wouldn't be so negative about a job like this. On paper, it seems satisfying and easy, but it was particularly difficult because there's all these springs and other accordion innards the file kept bumping into while I tried to clear material away evenly. It really slowed down progress, and I had to be super careful not to break anything with an errant stroke of the file. Plus, the cutting teeth on the file don't start right at the end of it, so it made it a lot harder to get the file to engage where I wanted it to. I've had time to reflect and think about my experience, and I still don't recommend it.
I don't recommend that to anybody. I mean, obviously it did the job, but that was not super fun. Next up, I say we glue this piece in the corner there. While we're here, let's glue that down. I'm just gonna put a glove right there. Handy dandy glue spreading tool. Who knew? We're going to clamp that off screen. I'm gonna start putting things back together, I think. I got these two guys. I think this one goes here. This one's gonna go up here. So it'll be like there. Next, I know there's a little piece that goes in the center here. I'm looking at a desk full of wood pieces. That looks like it could be the one. I don't know if you can see that in there. It's kind of built up around where the nail is. It's looking better. You can see that. And then while we got that there, I'm going to screw this back in. Screw. Meet screwdriver. Does that look like it's, no, it looks like there's a cap. And I think it looks a lot better. This one now. Okay. This goes back in. I'm just gonna start putting these things in, seeing how this all works. Oh, sorry, it should go like that. Look at that go. Oops. I'm seeing this just floating around there, and I'm really kind of, now that we have those pieces in place, I'm gonna glue this really quick. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Interesting. They just go along. So anything on the top note, on the top line is opening up this note. everything's kind of getting a little jostled out of place there. Plenty jostled out of place, actually. Bit of a train wreck at the moment. I think we're looking okay here. Just gotta make sure all these are sitting in their grooves. I think we did that. Wow. Okay, cool. I think that means we can put this piece in. Okay, that'll do it. Wish me luck here. How did I do this last time, huh? Anybody remember? Alright, you're not gonna get a good view of this, unfortunately. It's just too easy, folks. Oops. So I'm not sure how much it needs to be screwed down. I think you don't want it to be fouling up on any of these guys. So as long as they're able to turn, it should be okay. But you also want to like stay in their slots there. Take it down just a little bit more. Wow, look at that. Who would have thought that I'd ever be able to put one of these back together? I guess we just do this next one. How were these indexed, the next ones? Was it like this? Let's get a sense here. If this looks good or not.
For the previous 12 rods, there was that metal sawtooth looking thing that indexed each of the rods in place so that they stayed exactly where you wanted them to be. For this next 12, there is just 2 pins on either side of the wood. You can see them right there. And I have to stuff all of these rods in between those 2 pins on either side. They just sit right next to each other, and then we'll cap them all in place with the metal plates when they're all in place.
They're all back in place. Now we get to do this fancy boy here. Put this guy back. Tighten those up. Next up, I put these little panels in. I'll put one right there, and the other one. Okay, that was probably the easy part, now that I think about it, because now I gotta put all the buttons back in. This is gonna go in here. That one's gonna go here. This one is gonna go up top here.
This is the rightmost button. To reinsert it, I have to thread it through this metal channel and poke it into the right buttonhole. It's a little bit fiddly.
Okay. So this looks like it'll hit. Wow. This one is gonna go in this slot, but I haven't figured out where that means the buttons go. Is it that one? How's that look? Should probably be on this side of it. I think it has to be that one. Okay. First one done. Now let's keep doing the rest of these.
Reinserting these, you can see that the button rods alternate rows, making a little zigzag pattern. That's what I was struggling with in the previous clip, trying to figure out the right spot for each of these buttons. Once I figured out that they alternated, it became a lot easier.
Wow. Pardon my being impressed with this, but pretty unbelievable engineering. How each of these has a little slot that it lives in, and that allows these button rods to fit through. So like each of them has a little channel, in between there that each button lives in. It's just pretty remarkable. So I think we feed it in like that. Find the hole that it's supposed to go in. Maybe use this one. But then before we do that, we gotta hook it on its little, hook that on its little button there. And this one, oh, this is the really bent up one. So we're gonna take a look at this one. They have to be bent just so they finagle their way through the accordion body. Still looks pretty goofy. That looks a little straighter. You might have to take my word for it. This one comes out right there. If we hook it on, well, that's definite improvement. Still a little askew. Okay, it's working. I think that's good enough for me. So I'm gonna thread that in there. This one's also got a bit of a bend to it. But goes in, comes out. That's okay. Oh, this one's not good. Okay, let's see what that does. It returns. They all are returning now.
I worked slowly through each of these button rods, testing them to make sure if they felt like they were getting stuck and straightening them if they needed before reinserting them into the accordion. I'm not exactly sure how they got bent in the first place, but presumably it was from some sort of misuse. When the buttons on the bottom of the accordion are getting stuck, I think people have the tendency to push on them even harder in hopes of getting them unstuck. I know that I personally have done that before, and I'll try not to do it again. But you can see how easily those long spindly rods can get bent out of shape and have to be taken apart in service like this. See if that did anything, then I'm ready to leave this one. Hey, wow. Who would have thunk? Boy, there's a section of these that are all giving me the good grief. And if I'm not mistaken, once I put this cover back on, that will be the last piece on this side, aside from the strap. had to take the entire base side of the accordion apart again. I didn't file down the buttonholes enough, and most of the buttons were still getting stuck. So I made a map of every single button. It's sort of like a treasure map, but instead of X marking where the treasure is, it marks where the keys don't work. I started pressing and testing all the buttons to see which ones were getting stuck, which ones were working okay. There you can see it. I took it all apart again. Started filing again. It was still terrible. Tried this. Wrapping a little piece of metal with sandpaper and pushing those in and out of the holes. Still testing the buttons to see if they fit okay. Eventually I got a little twist drill, like you would put in a drill, and started actuating it by hand to try to drill this out. I don't know if you see where this is maybe gonna go. I went and I drilled each of the holes out a little bit with this drill bit, so who knows what the repercussions of that will be, but the buttons sure move in and out of those holes. It's a little sloppy maybe, but at least they're not getting stuck. The other benefit of me having to take the whole thing apart and put it back together again is you get to watch in fast motion someone who knows what they're doing put the accordion back together. Right here I'm adding on hot glue there because there were these little tabs that were retaining that plastic filament in place, and so hot glue is a great ally in these trying times. Almost done. Done. Okay, good. Time. How long was that? You can see a little bit of the slop there. They kind of move around inside the holes. I was getting a little bit frustrated and I figured this was the best thing to do. It's maybe not the best thing to do, but it's definitely something to do.
Yay, look at that. No stuck notes anymore. Fantastic.
Ah, my old nemesis. This gross, decaying accordion strap. I truly wish I could have thrown it away, but I decided to salvage the metal hardware. Don't worry, I burned the fabric afterwards. Now, watch as I quietly make a new strap from scratch.
Under, over, down, get down here, feather. Next up, we're gonna stitch. Let's try and turn this inside out. Oh. Okay. Up. Next side. Boom, there you go. Let me hook this. Everything's got it going like this. Now we just plop it in over here. Start
tightening it down. There hasn't been a strap on this in a while. I also have to glue on these little felt pieces here. Wow, we're gonna put this on. Okay. Might be a little loose. That's too bad. Alright, remember this messed up keyboard? This is what the underside of it looked like. That's leather, and I tried to unscrew these screws holding it in place in order to remove the leather. Well, it turns out the screws were all corroded in place, so in a fit of rage I tore off that red leather. This is what was underneath. Disgusting. The most corroded piece of the accordion by far. I had to take it off. It proved to be a defiant metal. Neither screwdriver nor plier could pierce its scaly hide, despite my gallant perseverance. Vinegar dabbed gently on the heads of screws seemed to have very limited effect, though it did seem to cut through the white powder, if only slightly. Nevertheless, I ineffectually threw my time and energy at it for what felt like an hour that was probably only 57 minutes. Then, this happened. I've broken off all the side of the screw heads. So, this is fully free now. And I haven't even seen what it looks like, but we're gonna see now. Wow. Wow, if that is not a sight for sore eyes. Fantastic. Could look 1,000 times worse, huh? Just this piece, you know? Looks like crap on a couple of sides, but look at that. Wonder if I even had to take this off. I hammered it a lot and that kind of loosened things up. Set that carefully there. Check this out. Oh man, it even moves. So this one kind of broke off in a couple places, but it was like mostly eaten away right there. You can kind of see. And that side broke off too. Check that out. This piece broke off there. Something like that. Probably, well, wowee. Hasn't moved like that in a long time. But anyway, delightful. And the good part, the really fun part is now I can maybe soak this in a vinegar bath and see what that looks like. So let's get that going. Okay, we're gonna clean this out. Boom. 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 Moving on to the vinegar part again. Just such a fun little mechanism. If you look at the underside, you can't see it, there you go. That moves that. And it turns those, alternating which ones you have access to. Ugh. Delightful. It's a beautiful day. We're gonna clean out the key bed. All these pieces have come unglued. So we're gonna re-glue those, I think, in a minute. That one seems like it's been pretty good still. With maybe a screw or something. You know what, I should just pull it out. No waffling in these parts here. And it's indeed just kind of nailed in. Only on that side though, so. Well, I gotta tell you, that's a little odd. So it's nailed in. You can kind of see. There's a couple of little tacks there. I'm just trying to imagine how they drove those in. I'm not seeing really, you know, tack spots here. It's probably underneath the plastic, you know, whatever this coating is. Unclear about why there are none on this side. I'm just gonna take it out all the way, clean it up. I think I'm gonna glue this in place. Don't talk to me about my gluing technique, okay? Like that. Go up above the holes and try to align them. There you go, boom. It is really convenient that there were two nails though, because that really helps locate that piece of wood when I glued it back in place. Just If it was only one, maybe it would be slightly askew. And I'm gluing my accordion some more. Make sure that you take some time to feed some glue to your accordion, because they get hungry.
Got some beautiful felt. Let's just glue it right onto this piece of wood while the wood's drying too. Our old friend Gorilla Glue. Okay, now I'm gonna put this outside because it stinks. So I think next step for me is putting this back together, which I took apart 2 years ago now, three years ago now. So either I'm gonna watch back and try and find those videos or just wing it. I'm thinking of winging it right now. They're numbered, so maybe I organize them by number and then see what clicks. And then I gotta figure out which way the spring goes. I assume it'll go like that. I'm gonna wipe down the keys here. 2, 1, 3. Maybe 2 indicates that it's a white key and 13 indicates the key. We've got, looks to be 10, 13 there. 9, 13. Ooh, you can see this lifting up there. All right, I'll stop yapping at you and we'll slowly kind of assemble these here. I'll also set aside some of these that are gonna be pulling apart. Some of them are fully missing their keys, but that's all right. Ooh, he's missing something there. That just looks like the wax, maybe. That looks like it's held in with the same thing that holds in the reed. It's sort of a beeswax. Number 1, hello. If that's number 1, we can figure out which side is which on the machine here. I'm imagining it's gonna go right there. Okay, let's just try this really quick. See how easy or how hard it is. Not a lot of path of travel though. Let's see. There you go. Now we know how they're organized. Ooh, what the heck is that? Oh wow, is that what the black keys look like? We're organizing these by number here. Okay, that's all the white ones. 1 through 24, looks like. I forgot that every single black key lost its key, I guess. So we'll have to re-glue every single one of those. I might try to sand these down a little bit because there's a little bit of buildup on that, each of them. I guess there are some missing parts. This is how many black keys we have. Less than, what is it, 15, 16? Not quite enough. I think we're gonna be making some new black keys at some point. Oh, that's such a bummer. Wow. Well, I'm not gonna be able to match these, I don't think, because it's just like a plastic dipped piece of wood or something. And then additionally, we have 5 of these. Let's hope there are 5 or less of those, because that would be also 1 right there, 2, 3, come on, 5. Don't let there be another one, please. Hey, you know what? There you go. Internal pieces, I guess, is the name of the game here. If you got internal pieces, hopefully they stick around. That's not the case for all the reeds though, because I know we're missing like half the reeds, but whatever.
So I discovered sandpaper worked pretty well. So this rod goes through every single key and it basically holds them down to the keyboard so that they're not flopping around. They're exactly in line with the next one, and it basically pivots around this point. So as I'm putting this back together, I'm threading this rod through a little brass piece of hardware in every key, as well as a hole drilled through that piece of wood. So it starts off easy, and then the further along I get, it gets a lot harder because there's more friction involved, and it's, you know, touching every single piece of wood and every single key. So it starts to get a lot harder. Well, I think I messed up, because I should have checked which of these were getting stuck before, and I guess the sanding I was doing wasn't enough on all of them, because some of them get stuck. Mark here to mark that that one is getting stuck, okay? That one's sort of getting stuck. This one is very stuck right there. You see that one? Oh, I see. Maybe this being on there, maybe that'll be okay. Maybe I don't have to take it all apart, because the key sort of acts as a stop. Prevents it from getting stuck? Maybe? Let's see if I put this one on there, right there. No, it still gets stuck. Okay. So as you can maybe tell here, I'm delaying the inevitable, trying to file this channel down without taking the keyboard apart. Then I go ahead and keep reassembling the keyboard. Miraculously, got every piece back in. Every key. There's, you know, a little bit of resistance on some of them where wood's rubbing, but hey, they all pop back right away. Fire up the hot wax next, I'm thinking, to reflow and reattach some of these guys. That's a wrap on that one. So I've got my wax. I got this a while back, and it seems to hold okay. It's got a bit of pine resin, and it's got the beeswax in it, which are two of the ingredients in what I've seen online about making your own reed wax. Soldering iron is on, so I'll hold things in place. Just drip wax on them if they're in the right spot, you know? Drip some wax on it. Yeah, maybe I'll do ones in the back first. So as I replace all of these hole covers, you can kind of see the keyboard, all of those keys that are raised, they start to level out and get in line with all the other keys. So not incredible access, but I probably shouldn't do too much here. I did a couple more out of frame, but let's see. Hey, there you go. So I take too much wax and I kind of feed it onto the soldering iron. It kind of draws the wax in where the tip of the iron goes. Oh man, my hands are probably right in the way. More like that. Very nice work. Thanks for doing that. Oops, I gotta be careful with that. I should probably put some of these pieces of fabric back on. There's a bunch of them that fell off. They kind of, I don't know, hold the, I don't know what these are called, like key rods maybe. Tap the soldering iron on there. Just stay waxed on there. I think it's nice. I think it's doing okay. So that's all done. You can look at how even all those keys are now. So I took this metal plate out of the vinegar bath and I decided to start using sandpaper to really cut down on some of that corrosion. And it's going really well. The one side that's way more pitted and way more eaten into is kind of less successfully being sanded, but that's fine. But we'll cross that road when we need to. I don't really know how best to refinish that. After that sanding, it went back in the vinegar bath. Okay, so I think I'm gonna make a replacement for this, just cause like, look at that. I think I might try to like patchwork it a little bit here. Cut that, you know, see if I can tack it on the end somehow. Either way, I'll iron this and see what we get. And in theory, those should just line up nice. Now I can put this on. Essentially, I'm gonna trace out all this stuff and then I'll just cut it out somehow. Probably easier said than done. Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be a pain. It really pulls. Punch would be great. No way is that gonna work. Okay, forget those blades. We got this. We gotta just take these out and try and start doing. Let's start like a little stab. Yeah, like that. That's gonna be fun to do. How many times is that? Let's get to it. I don't want to put music over this clip, so instead I'm going to share an audio clip from an ethical workplace conduct course that I really enjoyed.
Situational analysis. Your home team finally wins the World Series. After several late nights of watching dramatic games that have gone into extra innings, you are elated to see the conclusion. You want to celebrate, but you are a forklift operator with an early shift the next morning. What do you do?
Break into groups of 3 and discuss how you each would respond to this scenario. Then meet back here to share as a group.
Party animal over here. Wow. You know, looking at this, you'd barely be able to tell that there's a corroded sheet of metal behind this green piece of felt, but there is. So I'm not gonna glue anything down just yet. I'm gonna cut that one. Why the heck not? Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful. So we needed to do this because I messed up this one. That's one reason. Other reasons, it's just fun to do. Glue this piece back in. I see this wooden piece right there. It's a little hook thing. I accidentally knocked off this side. Yeah, I think that's solid. Cool. Okay, that piece is glued in now. I'm just gonna put this back together here with the new felt. I'm not gonna put in these little slides that adjust the voicing, what scale you're on.
So this felt piece goes in between that metal sheet and the reed blocks, and it kind of acts as a gasket to help it seal better.
So I'm gonna try to feed this in without mussing anything up too bad. I should probably start with one of the other sides first, actually. So we're gonna start here. Tuck it in sort of like that. Okay, well, let's stop because my timer's going off because we got bread in the oven, but they're more like frozen biscuits, to be honest. But this is all back in place and it's got something in there, so. This side of the accordion is the best it's been, and it's pretty much playable for the foreseeable future until I decide to actually fix some stuff. So there you go.
Remember the 5 basic things an accordion needs to function from my previous video? Well, now we have to work on number 4, the bellows. In some ways, it's one of the least complicated parts of the accordion. but it's extremely important. The bellows, in conjunction with your arms, is the engine that powers the accordion. Thanks to the bellows' flexible, expandable walls, they're able to change their volume, causing a pressure change that induces airflow across the musical reeds. Thing is, they have to be fairly airtight to do their job, and my bellows is leaking a weird amount of air. That means I've got to find the biggest leaks and start sealing them back up. Let's check in with me as I try to bring this bellows back from the brink.
This piece is all kind of missing, this whole corner. I don't know if you see that right there. I don't know if that's going to seal super great. Looks like someone tried to use duct tape not duct tape, electrical tape to reseal some of the edges of this. I'll start by vacuuming it and trying not to take any pieces out. This one, this corner, it's got a little chip there, and that glues in. I now know where this piece goes, potentially right there. If not right there, but see if there's any loose pieces of wood that don't really have a home. There's a little piece of wood. Does that go there? Does that look like it would go there? Kind of, sort of matches, does it? Maybe not really.
Here's a little sped up vacuum montage. Sorry for making you watch so much vacuuming. Leave a comment below if you think I should feature less vacuuming content in future videos.
Don't know how much vacuum this thing can even produce. I wonder if I just leave that one for now. Just like glue this in place. Next up, you know what? I'm gonna try and do a little woodworking on camera here. People are gonna be very, very excited to see how what kind of skills I've got in the woodworking department. We want to make a little 45-degree. Something like that. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, cut this guy. Gonna mark this sort of on the fly here. So I'm making a lovely little joint right there for this to go in. Trying to get this down to depth so that I can slide it into there. Just put it in like that, let's say. Gonna mark it there. Go in sort of like in here. And this was the piece that I had right there. I'm gonna do a little bit of nonsense here. So I still have a little triangle gap right there. So I'm just gonna cut off a little right angle here. I'm gonna cut this down. So, I don't know if you can kind of see, it's got a little bit of a dog bite taken out of it. Where it goes straight down. It's supposed to be flat all the way around. So we got some height to make up. I think what I want to do is kind of cut and even it out. I'm really shooting from the hip on this one. How much, oh boy. We're gonna glue that back on, I guess. It's looking nice. It's looking nice. Now I will let that dry. Some time has passed. No, it's something.
So this is how it turned out. I don't know how important it is that that wood right there doesn't have any holes in it. I don't really know if that wood needs to be airtight, because around the rim of that there should be like a little strip of foam sealing material that goes around the entire wooden frame.
Okay, that's good enough. For me, for now. So I don't know exactly what the point of all of this electrical tape is, and I think it probably can't be worth having it in there, right? I mean, just like covering up some kind of glue. Oh, I see. Well, there was this black fabric stuff right there. And maybe I'm gonna regret this, but I think I'm pulling it all off just because it looks gross. And I doubt that it's that helpful. So sorry, whoever worked on this before, but unplug that. You know, I'm all for using weird things to fix stuff, but I don't know if I would use electrical tape for this. And even if I would probably use some new stuff. So I guess it's just kind of, maybe it's just glued on there. Is that what that is? Like this, there's a glue seal essentially. Yeah. So we might have to do some gluing. Next, we take a look and see where the biggest air leaks are gonna be, and go from there.
So I figured I would reassemble and start testing to see where air is leaking. Before that, I decided to temporarily cover up these holes on the bass side, which allows me to isolate the bass notes that are installed and not leak excess air through the side of the bass that's not installed. So I cut that piece to size and I installed it. For now, it's going to be good enough for testing. I don't know if it's showing, but I was really starting to get excited about testing the accordion. I didn't technically need to put all these reed blocks back in place just to test where the bellows was leaking air, but by this point I was really eager to have something to show for my work. There were so many steps in the lead up to this moment, so much work done with no clear indication that the accordion would ever come back to life. I could only rely on the hope that I was doing enough work in the right direction, but over time that hope was growing thin. Tony Stark made his Iron Man suit in a cave, with a box of scraps. My accordion started out in much the same way, but could it also come to life? And could it also blow up a tank? All I could do in this moment is hope that the accordion did at least one of those two things.
I'm a little skittish right now, because there's a chance that these will either make noise right now or they won't. Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool. Oh man, we can do this too, I forgot. Let's play some C. Wowee. This is cool. That's pretty alright. That's progress, baby. That's... Oh my goodness. Okay.
That's progress, man. That's a heck of a progress. I think that I should just take out these those little metal plates. I think they're kind of blocking it. Obviously, there's some notes that sounded really bad, like if we do like no note on the compression stroke on that one. Compression stroke. That's funny. Kind of weak there. Maybe that one. A little wheezy. This is exciting progress. Okay, so there's a lot of holes in a lot of these corners. You can see there's some particularly bad offenders there. There, but I think more so than any of those corners being bad, there is a big issue right here. So this whole piece right there is open air. That's a huge hole. So I think that's our main problem. So I think if we fix that, that'll be good. Also this one right there is a mess. So, but yeah, first things first, gotta fix up that. I'm thinking it's just glue. It's now the next day, and I think it's not the prettiest, but that's all right. So as you can see, we still have all these crazy holes, but that one I think was probably the biggest offender. Let me throw it together really quick here. Well, it's still leaking like a sieve, unfortunately. A lot coming through in this corner here. I'm at a bit of a loss how to save this bellows here, or how to make a meaningful difference on this. I think that this whole thing, I glued up a little patch of it right there, but I think the whole thing is really bad. And to evidence that, let's see if we can just probably a tool would be good here. It's all got to be re-glued there. I think I should do the bottom as well. Comes out super easy, which is a good sign. I should have done this before. There we go. That's nice. Cool. So I'll clean all that up and then re-glue it, and that'll make a huge difference, I think. Let the gluing commence. Watching this footage back, I'm pretty sure that the electrical tape was being used to combat this exact issue of air leakage. But instead of taking the bellows apart and re-gluing it, they decided to envelope the whole thing in tape. Maybe at one point their solution was helping the accordion limp along, but over time, the tape was definitely not helping seal up the bellows. Hopefully, I'm applying enough glue to improve the situation. I should probably consider replacing the bellows entirely, but for now, I want to shore it up and discover for myself the potential pitfalls of patching a piece of pressure-producing paraphernalia. Please peruse my portrayal of a person with purported proficiency with an appropriate pinch of pessimism. My purpose is purely pursuing my passion for puttering on projects, not producing professional products or prescribing paths for parodying my performance. Please prevent painful polemics on my persona by pursuing partnerships with proper practitioners, with paragons of perfection. Ponder the paean of Prometheus. The prodigious Panjandrum was plainly proud to purloin the pantheons of progress, but probably paled as Pex perforated his pancreas. What I mean is, taking stuff apart is awesome, and definitely do it at your own risk. Also, check out this clamp. So it's a little improved, I think. more notes at once, but it's still leaking like a sieve. This whole, the bellows got so many holes in it, so it's a question of, you know, you plug up one hole and then another hole starts to be a huge leak. So I think we're gonna have to take this thing apart and swing at it a lot of different ways. Cool, okay. And so we got a very leaky bellows, but it's a little bit better. Only the top 2 rows of notes here play. The rest of these were included in the bass block that I did not rebuild. But as far as noises go, pretty incredible. Here's the not pressing any notes. That's how much it moves on its own, but that's fine. Wow. Cool. That's really exciting. That's cool. Accordion with a lot more life than it's had in a while. So, next steps are, obviously it needs black keys, but those have to be made and reattached. Next step would probably be the bellows, getting it like way more airtight. And then, I mean, you know, play a song with it basically. I don't know if I'm gonna do, oof, very cool. That's so cool. Okay, let's pause. This accordion and I have come a long way together. Thanks for joining us on the journey so far. It'll still be a project and a half to get this thing over the finish line, but it all feels so much more manageable now. Like, this is a musical instrument that works, really works. Sure, it's missing some pieces, and it could use a serious tune-up, but it used to be a jangly box of junk, and now it's an accordion. I'm really excited to keep working on all of it, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to do these long videos anymore. It's just for my own sanity. An hour and a half is way too long. Let me know in the comments what you'd think about maybe shorter chunks of progress or videos that gloss over some of the finer details. Anyway, thanks for making it to the end of this feature-length film. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about the process or suggestions for a name for the accordion, I would love to hear them. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.